So to call today a big day for Netflix is definitely an understatement. Today we got the release of The Irishman, the new Martin Scorsese epic crime film, which has the likes of Joe Pesci, Al Pacino, and Robert De Niro, and an amazing supporting cast. It's a 3.5-hour movie. Is it worth checking out? We're going to talk about that and much more. The Irishman, directed by Martin Scorsese. The film follows Frank, played by Robert De Niro, a truck driver who becomes a hitman and gets involved with mobster Russell, played by Pesci, in his crime family, including his time working for the powerful teamster Jimmy Hoffa, played by Al Pacino.
We'll bring you back after you get your car.
What is going on, everybody? Elliot back again with a new movie review, and today we're talking about the new Netflix film, The Irishman, directed by Martin Scorsese, a film I was very excited for, and I am excited to share my thoughts with you all in this spoiler-free review and let you know at the end of this review my overall thoughts and, of course, my score. But before we dive into it, definitely consider subscribing to my channel. Hit that little notification bell so you can stay up to date with my latest movie reviews, TV reviews, and all the fun stuff we do on this channel. And if and when you've seen The Irishman, you know what you got to do. You got to drop some comments below. Let me know your overall thoughts of this film. Let's have some fun discussions down there. So again, I'm going to try to keep this review under 3.5 hours if possible, but no, I want to make this review spoiler free, no spoilers whatsoever, but I want to start off with the positives, and I want to start off with the performances. I can definitely talk about the great performances from supporting cast, but I really want to focus on our three main leads because they're all legends, and the supporting cast is legendary in its own right. But let's talk about Frank, our main character in this film, played by the great Robert De Niro, one of the greatest actors of all time, in my opinion, who's played in some phenomenal movies and has some great roles. But I'm telling you guys, Frank, this character Frank, man, we see so many different layers from Robert De Niro in this film, from him being the hitman, from him being the Irishman, from him being, Jimmy's friend, Jimmy Hoffa's friend, from him being loyal to Russell, to him being a father, being a husband. So many things that are acts upon him in this role, and he delivers on every front. I really can't think of a performance like this from Robert De Niro, honestly, because, in all his great movies, he plays certain characters, but we see certain aspects of the character, not touch on certain things. But in this film, there is everything in this character, and he gives a phenomenal performance. Again, you're watching this movie through Frank's eyes, through a certain particular part of his life, from when he meets Russell to, at the end of his time of his life, when he's reflecting on the things that he did in his younger years. There's just so much in this movie from Frank, and the performance from Robert De Niro and playing off of these great other actors was just phenomenal. Speaking of those other great actors, Jimmy Hoffa, played by Al Pacino. Oh, man, Al Pacino, man. At first, I'm not going to lie, the performance was a little, I don't want to say jarring, but, when you're looking at the first act of this film and you're watching Frank interact with Russell and all the subtlety and the kind of the nuance in those performances, and then when you throw in this missile of this character, this political figure in Jimmy Hoffa, played by Pacino, it was a little like, oh, okay, but you definitely, at least I did, I can speak to this, I got used to the character, and man, the performance by Al Pacino was phenomenal, man. I haven't seen Al Pacino in a role like this in years, and he kills this role, man. I'm telling you. I didn't know much. I'm not a history buff, so a lot of the stuff was new to me, but definitely when the film ended, I went to Wikipedia, looked up some Jimmy Hoffa stuff, and I would be down for a Jimmy Hoffa film, TV show, played by Al Pacino again, because I thought the performance was so great. I mean, there's so much from this character, and he could have his own movie, honestly, because of the stuff that he went through in this film. And then, man, Al Pacino did a great job in this film. And then I can't leave it out. Probably my favorite character in the movie and my favorite performance, honestly, Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci as Russell, because I'm so used to seeing Joe Pesci. I think of Goodfellas, one of my favorite films of all time, how he was just a hothead. It was almost the opposite of what Al Pacino played, but he's a hothead. He did what he had to do to get made, and we know what happened in Goodfellas for those that seen it. But this time, Joe Pesci was playing kind of like Paulie in Goodfellas. He was very subtle. He said the things he did. I mean, you listen to Russell. Like, you don't disrespect Russell, and you know what happens when you do. It is what it is, and I'm telling you, man, Joe Pesci just did a hell of a job, and it's so great to see him in this movie, because it's been a while since we've seen Joe Pesci. I think well over 15 years or so that he's been in a big movie and played this type of role, this character. And I think the last time we saw him was like in a comedy, which I think was Lethal Weapon 4. So seeing him in this type of role, this gangster, this, really lethal and this, kind of character that he's playing in this film, I just love Joe Pesci's character, and I thought he was phenomenal in this movie. Again, all three of the leads were great, but Joe Pesci was my favorite in this film, and the supporting cast, again, was great. So let's transition a little bit about the director. Martin Scorsese, one of the greatest directors of all time, had a lot on his plate. 3.5-hour film. He's got some technology he's messing with. He got this script. No one's buying the script. He can't get it to a studio, so he goes to Netflix, and he delivers an epic crime film 100%, guys. Like, Martin Scorsese, yes, this doesn't have the flashiness of a Wolf of Wall Street, or it's not as brutal as you might think it is. There's definitely some brutality, but not as brutal as some of his other films. But he tells this story in a way that's just engaging. It's just, you're following the story, the way he directs it, the shots, the score, everything in this film, all the directing things that he did in this film to make this film come together. Phenomenal. And I can spend 30 minutes talking about the direction of Martin Scorsese, but I'm just going to leave it at this was one of my favorite films by one of the greatest directors of all time. He did a phenomenal job in the direction share in this film. Again, I didn't care about the technology. The de-aging technology came and went. It wasn't too distracting for me. There was a couple different age differences between our main characters, especially when you think of the relationship between Russell and Frank. You're supposed to believe that there's like probably a 10 to 15 year age gap, but I really didn't see that. But I wasn't focused on that. I was just engaged in the story that was being told, and I love that aspect. The story is huge, and I don't want to spend too much time on it because I don't want to spoil anything. But the first act really focuses on the crime element in the film. The second act really kind of dives into the politics of Jimmy Hoffa and the Kennedys and everything of that. And the third act of the film really focuses on the reflection of our character Frank and how he looks onto the past and how he's now coming to grievance and some of this stuff that he's done in the past. And again, the way the story is being told, we got different flashbacks. We're going on this trip to Detroit for a wedding. We see, Frank later in his years. I just thought that the way the story was told, it was just so unique and so engaging. And again, I don't want to spoil anything, but I just really was just locked in from the beginning of the film where we get the crime stuff to the middle of the film where we get the politician stuff and all the drama that we get with Jimmy Hoffa. And some of those moments, some of those scenes, man, with Jimmy Hoffa and Tony Pro and Frank there and the shorts and being late to the meeting was great. The stuff that we get at the house later in the film. I mean, there's some scenes in this film that's just so engaging, edge of my seat type of moments, and some of the best moments I've seen in cinema all year. To kind of transition over to some of the criticisms here before I wrap up this review. This is a big film, and there's a lot of stories within this story. So some of the stories didn't get as much attention as I would have liked to have seen. Some of the stuff with Jimmy Hoffa and the Kennedys and some of the drama behind that. I would have liked to have dove more into the relationship aspect of Frank in particular, because, again, the third act really focuses on the reflection of Frank and his past, and it really relies on him kind of making amends to some of his family members, and I thought that some of that was underdeveloped by the time we got to the third act. It's just like, oh, well, we really didn't spend that much time with him and Peggy and him and his other daughters and his first wife and second wife, so for them to focus, heavily on that in the third act, I just feel like it was a little underwhelming for me personally. And again, there's a little minor things again from like the eyes that Robert De Niro had. It's like nitpicking things, and there was a little bit of pacing issues at times, but other than that, probably my biggest thing was some of the stories I wanted to focus on a little bit more, and then some of the relationships didn't feel as developed as I would have liked to see, especially from Frank and his family and his daughter and Peggy and all that stuff. And I thought that was kind of, let me know without spoiling anything, the relationship that Peggy had with Russell as well as with, Robert or Al Pacino's character. It was a little weird, right? Am I just making that up? Let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking about that. But before I wrap this up, this is a film about greed, loyalty, family, relationships, friendships. You're seeing Frank being, how he's befriended Jimmy Hoffa, how he's befriended Russell, and seeing that kind of being, torn apart at a certain point in this film. And I just really love this film, to be honest with you all. I'm just so glad that the talented cast that came together and the director was able to make this film. And it warrants that 3.5 hour runtime. It didn't feel like 3.5 hours. I could have sat in the movie theater and watched this without, no lie. I was so engaged in this film, and I would have loved to have seen this in the theater, but I'm glad I was able to see it at home, and I'm glad I'm able to watch it over and over and over again at home. So it's epic. It's tragic. The performances are incredible. It's honestly the best film I've seen on Netflix, to be honest with you all, and I'm excited to see the future of streaming and see what we get as the years go by. So I'm going to give this the 5-star treatment, 5 out of 5. I highly recommend you all checking it out. I know it's not going to be for everyone because, again, that runtime might discourage people and it might not be into certain crime films, but if you want to see some great acting, some great directing, and a very engaging story, this might be the film for you. So 5 out of 5. Definitely give this video a like, a thumbs up. Share this video. Let me know in the comments as well as what you thought of this movie. Of course, subscribe to my channel. Check out my review that I did for Castle Rock earlier today and all of my other reviews I did for Queen and Slim as well as Knives Out, which came out today as well. And then keep an eye out for some more TV reviews I got coming up this weekend. So For all those that celebrate the holiday, happy holiday to you all. Thank you all for watching this review, and we'll see you on the next video.